Hello, my name is Randy Dobson. I'm an instructor here in the Houston, Texas area, and this video will be the second of third videos covering the model space and paper space command or options. Again, I tried to take three videos on this one because it has a lot of moving parts to it, such as it is, but I really want my students to understand the concept of it because different companies utilize it in different ways, different than what I'm showing you here. But if you fully understand the concept of it, then you can adapt pretty easily. Uh, Again, just I'm gonna refresh what we talked about before in the other videos. That model space is the real world. This is where, if I'm going to draw a line that's uh, you know 6 foot tall. Let me take it up. I'll just take it up 6.2. Okay, and get rid of that line. That's 6'2". That's my height. Okay, so when you come over here to a layout, uh, here in the layout or paper space, that this is the real world. This is my window that I'm looking at. This is where your title block will be located, or any notes. This can be changed to just being the size you need. Uh, but understanding this is where you set your scale for your drawing is in this viewport. Your title, your sheet, say it's 24 by 36, that will stay the same. All you're going to be doing is changing the scale. Again, talking about scales were these engineering scales, not rulers. Here's an engineer scale, which are all 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And then architectural goes into fractions of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, quarter of an inch, eighth, half, and so on. I can't stress enough that you learn how to use these. Uh, but once you highlight it, you can come over here, and I wanted to show you this real quick. You notice it won't let me change the scale. Well, if you remember from my first video, right click, I locked the display, so it will not let me change it until I unlock it. Now when it's unlocked, it will allow me to come over here and change. I could change it to 16th of an inch equals a foot. As you can see, that's pretty darn small. Well, let's just go back to a 1 to 2, and that's 1 inch equals 2 feet. So this would be the scale at that scale listed, and then I would lock it. Now understand, even if I don't lock it, if I'm zooming, let me open that window up. If I'm zooming in and out, I'm not changing my height. If I go to this, okay, and I go and dimension it, what does it say? 6'2". Okay, now I'm going to do it like that, and now I want to dimension it again, and what is it? It's still 6'2". This is just the scaling of it. And again, that's probably one of the hardest things to teach online, is understanding the scale. Uh, but once you have that, you lock it up, and then you can leave it alone. Once it's locked, then you don't have to worry about anybody coming here and messing it up. Okay, just like I did on mine just now. As you can see, when I highlight it, it's some funky scale, so I have to unlock it. I know I don't want it locked. I will highlight it again. I will make it the scale I want, and see, and I can change this into the one I want to see. And then once it's there, right click, hit locked, yes, and then now if you open it up, you can't mess the scale up because it is locked. Somebody would physically have to unlock it, and that's not done accidentally. That's done either on stupidity or on purpose, unfortunately. Um, so again, you can have different. I'm going to copy this viewport right here, and I've got 4 viewports, and I'm going to unlock these 3 so I can show you. And this is how these can work. I might want to highlight where this big circle is highlighted, and then come over here, and let's say I want to highlight this circle right here. Okay, and then let's just say I want to highlight the line. Okay, so again, these are all the same thing. Watch what happens. Watch this circle right here and here. When I click on there, as you can see, those all get highlighted. If I click on the line, of course you can't see them because there's no line over here. If I click on this big one, then that one's highlighted and this one's highlighted. So these are, again, if you were sitting in your house and you had four windows looking out into the real world and looking out at this would be what you would see. And as you know, when you look out a window, you don't see the exact same thing. You know, you could be looking at a fence and then look out your front window and you see a street, and then you sit at the side window, you might see a fence, but it's farther away, and so on. So these are just, again, to let you know that in anything I do, watch this large circle right here. I'm going to come into this window and I'm going to move this circle. Well, watch what happens. Everywhere in any other window it is showing up, it will it'll move. I'm going to put it where it's over the two circles. Okay, I could come up here and move this line to where it's going right down the middle of those. See? So anything I change in one will change in the other ones for the objects, because they are still the same object. If I was to come and erase all of those, well, then they all erase. Okay, so again, getting the concept of working with a viewport and thinking of it as a window to model space, or the window to the real world, will help you in understanding it, because you may have some people that will draw up things like this, and then actually put a title block in here, which is not the suggested way, and then they will come over here and make a window just to show that title block so they can plot it. I know it's going to seem a little confusing, but as you mess with it more and more, there's not a lot to it. If you really work on it, you can be an expert in, gosh, several months, if maybe a year. It took me quite a few years because I didn't have the constant instruction, and obviously also back when I learned it was in 1995, 96, and it had none of the settings like it does now. It was not as easy to, it's not as user friendly. So take advantage of this. I will tell you that, you know, just to kind of give you an idea, this right here is, oh, I'll take this one here. This is set to, if I want to set this to say 1/20, see, there it is at 1/20. Okay, back when I learned it, I would have to double click in there and then type in Z, enter, P, enter, S, enter. I'm sorry. Well, I'm actually, my memories, let me go ZP. Nope, they've actually changed it, so I'm gonna back up on that and not take y'all back into time. But we actually had to type it in. We did not have this down here, is what I was trying to get at. So it's become much easier for you just to click on here and then just select the scale that you want. Let's say 1:4, then lock it, and you are done. And so you know, mess around with that, understand how those work. The next video, I'm not going to be talking so much about this information again, but going into the implications of how layer properties works, because that's probably just as important as dealing with these different viewports and locking them and setting them to scale. And maybe by then I could remember how to type that in and show you how that works. So that concludes this second video on model space, paper space. Thank you.